Welcome back to Luminary Leaders Live. My name is Shelly Harrison and I'm your host. I am the CEO of Luminary Leaders and I'm also the host of this show, and we love bringing on people all over the world and exciting, interesting people. And today I have a great guest. We've been connected on LinkedIn for quite some time, and his team put us together for this show today. And I'm so excited to introduce him here just shortly. But I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor. We have our sponsor, who is Endeavor Mortgage, and they're located in Seal Beach. And I want to give a shout out to Dan Leonard, who is actually the owner of Endeavor Mortgage. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest. And you see him here with me right now, Jeff J. Hunter. And Jeff, I want to welcome you to Luminary Leaders Live. And we're going to have a great time today. I know you are the founder and king of outsourcing with VA Staffer. So let's get started with, tell us about your journey, kind of quick and fast way of how you got started in this with VA Staffer.
Well, I've always been a huge computer geek and always liked the idea of, video gaming. And obviously, I have this giant, awesome gaming rig. I've gotten over
I love
250
it.
million views of this thing. It's
Oh,
captivated so many people
I
and
bet. Yeah.
probably caused some huge, crazy imaginations to go crazy. But, when I when I was in my teens, I actually used to play video games multiplayer, and that wasn't a
Yeah.
you know what I mean, that was crazy. Now, just so you know, I'm 40, so
I
um
am look at.
back in high school, that means it was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was pretty insane to think. And it was different ways of communication back then. You didn't have Zoom, you didn't have
Yeah.
any of this kind of direct stuff. It was all kind of like text-based chat. So at a
Mm.
young age, I actually learned how to communicate with people remotely. And that kind of turned into a skill set that I developed. I ended up becoming an IT coordinator for a school district, and I became an
Oh,
IT project manager for a Fortune 500. And then I
yeah.
decided that I was going to start building my own virtual teams.
Yeah.
And here we are, many years later, building my own virtual teams. My company, VA Staffer, which is a virtual assistant staffing agency, we now
Mhm.
have over 170 people
Oh
working
my
there.
gosh, congratulations on that. And that's a lot of, where you have to have systems in place, you have to have such a smooth running organization. And I know, virtual assistants, give us an idea of what your idea is of a virtual assistant, because I know you put out a post, and I think it was within the last few days, and I loved it because it kind of outlined, what what a VA does, but what people expect from, out of the country VAs versus, here in the US.
Yeah, well, I think it really comes down to there is multiple definitions of what a virtual assistant is.
Yeah.
And actually, there's a lot of people that brand themselves as a virtual assistant are actually not. They're more like freelancers that are like marketing specialists or something. They do funnels and graphics, and they email automations, and they parade around as an assistant, but they're not really an assistant at all. An assistant is someone who literally is an assistant, you
Yeah.
know? Uh,
Administration and tasks that need to get done day to day.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I kind of tasked myself out to build out the the best damn virtual assistant workforce in the world, and
Yeah.
I found that it actually is in the Philippines. And the
Oh,
reason why, which is what I posted about, the reason why is because Americans are very entrepreneurial. And
yeah.
uh, for us as luminary leaders, we really need to have people that can grow and build with us. And
Yeah.
hiring someone on an hourly basis to come in and do things here and there, and they're juggling multiple clients, does not work. You cannot build a business without having a dedicated, committed person to you
Yeah.
and your business.
I
So,
totally agree with that.
and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I've identified in the marketplace, which is why we don't actually hire. Get ready for this. We have 170 virtual assistants, but we
Yeah.
do not hire virtual assistants. What we do is we hire people that have usually worked in technology fields, for technology companies like Google, Microsoft, Shopify, telecom companies like
Mhm.
T-Mobile, and they're
Yeah, all those
usually
things that businesses need.
right.
Yeah.
And guess what? They work American hours, right? Because they're working in a
Mhm.
call center in the Philippines during American hours. We look for
Yeah.
someone who has a track record of at least 2 years working there, so they have tenure. So
Mhm.
they're that's half the battle, by the way, is getting people that show up to work consistently during American hours.
Yeah. No, because it's a different time zone and, and I mean, think about it. Would we wanna be working that early in the morning? I mean, there's people out there that will do it and bless their hearts, but I know that that's a tough time to work for anybody.
And not to mention that, but it is very hot in the Philippines. I don't know if you've ever been there. I've been
Yeah,
there
I
quite a few
haven't.
times.
Yeah, oh, that's what I hear, yeah,
It's
and
very
we
hot.
actually have a virtual assistant also who is in the Philippines, and
Mm,
we purposely changed his work hours so that it was cooler. So he
mhm.
starts in the evening, where it's 3 a.m. here in the morning, and then we have him until noon, but he's highly productive, and I know
Yep.
exactly what you're talking
That's
about.
exactly where I was going with it, because
Yeah.
it's very and not to mention it's noisy in the Philippines. They
Oh,
have they have jeepneys, very loud transportation. Every single person's got a rooster, right? Um, they all
yeah.
have roosters, so keeping it quiet. And the other thing is too, just from the capacity of work, there's a
Mhm,
lot of things that American virtual assistants don't want to do. They don't want to
mhm.
attend all of your calls and take your meeting minutes. That's not something that you mostly get joy out of.
Yeah.
They're not going to do data scraping and lead generation. They're not going to go into LinkedIn accounts like my assistant Jacqueline, who connected
Mhm.
us. Right, she's the one who
Right.
messages you, and she
Yeah.
coordinated this call, and you had her. You actually sent an email saying, "Hey, can you fill this out before the podcast?" And
And it was
she
done within minutes.
yeah, she sent you
Yeah.
the headshot, my bio, everything. She did
Yep.
all that. I didn't even know that you emailed me until, I saw it in
Yeah.
my inbox that she had replied. So those
Yeah.
are things that us as leaders really need to have dependable and trustworthy people that can actually grow
Exactly.
with us.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, and I think, what you've created, I mean, it really is miraculous what you've done because you've got a kind of a quasi workforce, right, of 170 people, and working with the schedules, trying to find dependable people, and when you talk about the Philippines, I mean, I have a deep compassion for Filipino people,
Hmm.
or the Philippines, and just their hearts and the way that they care about other people, and I love the fact that you have a lot of people that are in the Philippines that are you're employing them, and helping their families. So I think that that's fantastic.
Yeah.
As
Well,
far as go ahead,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say on that topic, it's interesting because, when I first started this company, I really didn't know how to price things out. And in the beginning, I wasn't profitable. So in the beginning, I was really looking for, like, hey, what's the best value I could get for the buck? Um,
Hmm.
and it's interesting because that mentality has shifted so much because now
Yeah.
I know how much of an impact that I'm able to make, and just by paying just by paying more,
Mm.
and it's interesting because most of the people on my team now, they make more money than anyone in their family. My own assistant,
Oh,
Jacqueline, who you and
yeah,
I have spoke with, you
yeah.
spoke with Jacqueline, her mom, she has a long career as a teacher, and then now she works for the
Oh,
government, and she's only been working for me for 1 year. Jacqueline, my assistant,
gosh.
she's been my assistant for 1 year, and she already makes 3 times more than her mom,
Wow.
right? So
Yeah,
we have the ability to literally change lives. And for
exactly.
1,500 bucks a month, like that's not a whole lot for us to have a full-time person,
Yeah,
but that's a
that's
life-changing amount in the Philippines.
I know, it sure is, and, I mean, I really applaud you for, what you've put together, and, when you go to bed at night, Jeff, what do you think? Because I would imagine that, you've got I know you mentioned that just before we got on the broadcast, you were gaming with your son, your 10-year-old, and I think that's so cool, and look at the setup that you have, so he's probably just so excited to be there with you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
he
good.
we had a new game come out yesterday called Overwatch 2, and
Okay,
the
too.
game was so popular that it literally told you you had to wait. You were in a queue just to log into the game. And
Oh my god. Yeah, that's
la
how they work.
yeah,
Yeah.
last night, because my son goes to sleep around 8:30 on school days.
Oh.
So, at about 8 o'clock, I said, "Okay, you can play one game with me." And then the problem is that we went into there and logged in, and it said that there were 30,000 people ahead of him.
Oh
So
my
he waited 30 minutes and he never got to
jeez.
play with me. So he was so
30,000
excited
people.
today.
That's crazy.
He was so ready to come home from
Yeah.
school today and play.
Oh, to
So
get in. So, but he was able to get in today?
yeah, he got to play.
Good. Very good. Yeah, because after 30,000 people, I mean, that queue, but they have a way of getting them in there fast, I'm sure,
Yeah.
with technology and the way they do their launch, I'm
You
sure.
know, it's funny because as a remote person, um, a shocking story for other leaders
Oh.
is that when COVID happened,
Mhm.
video gaming to me became the golf for my clients.
Oh.
I landed the biggest deal that I've ever gotten, which is over $1 million in revenue. It's one client that we have over
Oh
50
my
assistants for that
gosh.
one client,
Wow.
and it was
Congratulations on that. My gosh. That's
thank you.
awesome.
And I worked the deal out on Call of Duty. Me and him played from it, so we
Oh
were
my
introduced to each
gosh.
other through a mutual
Yeah.
friend,
Yeah.
and then he added me on Facebook and saw that I like playing video games because I posted about it earlier today, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I have a post on my Facebook wall right now. I'm not even kidding you. I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna see how fresh it is. My latest
Mm.
post on my Facebook wall has, like, 6 or 7 comments from people, and I talked about the story I told you about how my son wanted to play this game with me.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I also found out that I have played 571 hours on that game.
Oh my
And I closed my moment
god.
saying, "I can't believe I've accomplished this much in my life playing that video
Explain how
game
much,
so much."
yeah. I mean, that's a lot, but in the same token, though, it makes you alert. It keeps your mind,
Yeah.
busy, and it's fun, and but you have to kind of, I would imagine that you have to kind of, do it in stride, right?
The interesting thing is there are people that have, like, serious gaming addictions. I actually used to
Yeah.
have one. I used to be very addicted. And actually, I don't know if you
Oh,
ever become unaddicted. I think that you learn how to control your addiction.
yeah, I would think so.
Um,
Yeah.
but I went through a really hard time. I actually I was married back in 2005 for a whopping 2 months, and it was a horrible spiraling ending, and I just
Mm,
literally played video games all day because I was so depressed, and that's
mm.
how I dealt with it. That's how I managed it. But
Yeah,
now I've learned how to use gaming to bring people together, to foster relationships with my clients.
yeah,
I
and close
literally
deals.
I literally play games with
Close
my
deals,
clients,
big
close deals with
deals.
clients. I have team
Yeah.
building where we actually play games
Mm.
together.
Oh my gosh,
So, and
that is so
Filipinos
cool.
love games, so that's why it
Well,
works so
yeah.
well.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool that you found a way to integrate that because it's something that you're passionate about, right? And then you have your company, and here you're meeting people, while you're gaming, and you're able to close business. I mean, that is just, I think that's a different way of networking that I've never heard of. So that's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
when you go to bed at night, Jeff, and looking at, just every single night what you've accomplished, like you said, back in 2005. And I'm so sorry to hear that because I know sometimes, I mean, depression can kick in, and a lot of us have been there, for different reasons, and loss or divorce or whatever. But when you look back and you think, gosh, look at what I'm doing now. When you go to bed at night, what's going through your mind? What are those thoughts? If you can share some of them.
Well, I always debate if I'm making the right decisions.
Mm.
You
Yep,
know?
I know that one.
Um, I'm always debating, and something about me that is, anyone who knows me well enough knows that I have this problem with open loops.
Mm.
I cannot stop thinking about something until there's closure. And
Oh,
I have a couple things that I go to sleep about thinking that are open, and some of it's relationship stuff.
yeah.
My wife and I. have been going through a bunch of stuff. We separated for like a year and a half, so I'm thinking about that kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking about
Yeah.
I've also thought a lot about balance as a leader. I've thought
Mhm.
about balance, like how do I keep my relationship with my kids and my family
Yeah.
and my business and my clients. And my wife always makes fun of me because, you know, literally my best friends are my clients, and I
Yeah.
can't help it. I
Yeah,
like
I
building
mean, you're
stuff with
just a
people.
lovable guy, right? That's the way you
It's
have
not,
to
no,
look
it's not
at
even
it.
about me. It's just like I like to build things. Let's
Yeah.
build some stuff together. And then we're like, hey, you know what? You're kind of cool. And we,
Yeah.
like just
And it just so
yesterday,
happens that that's a component of your business, right?
yeah, just yesterday
Yeah.
I went up to a city about an hour and a half away from me up north, and to go hang out with a guy who, he helps shoot a lot of my video content. He's a videographer, and I told him, I said, man, you should really work on your brand because he's still charging hourly and stuff. He's still,
Mm.
anyone who knows anything about, you know, trying to grow and build a scalable business is that you
Mhm.
cannot charge hourly or you're just going to create a
Oh my
job for
gosh,
yourself.
I know. Oh, wow. I started out that way in my company. And I mean, we learned, and we trial and error. But now we're totally different as far as our, the pricing and how we onboard clients. And yeah, it's important. And I think once you get into business, like for you, you do the branding, you have, your VA staffer, you've got, the gaming component. And by the way, you're an author, right? We didn't even
Yeah.
talk about that yet. But it's pretty cool that you could do all of this, and I hope that it's working for you and you're able to find that balance.
Yeah, I think
Your
that,
balance, not just balance, but your balance.
and I don't know if that's even a real thing because
Yeah.
when I look at the people I know that are successful, not just in their businesses but also in their personal life,
Hmm.
they kind of do things on the extreme. Like when they're all in on their business, they're all in on their business, and then
Yeah.
when they're with their family, they're all in on their family. They're very focused, and that's something that I'm still training myself. Like when I'm doing family time, like not looking at my phone
Yeah.
all the time and stuff like that.
Oh boy, guilty. I am.
Yeah.
I,
So
yeah,
I'm
totally
I'm just
understand.
focusing more on being present when I'm in a scenario that I need to be present and giving my presence to other people because that's one of the things that I've
Mm,
admired about some of my mentors is that they might have so many things going on in their lives, but when they're with me, they're very present. And that's
yeah.
how I want to come across to my people as well.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about that because I think a lot of people, we have so many distractions. And we have a comment. Let's see. We've got.
Oh, that was me telling you that you had a little thing popped up on your
Oh,
screen.
okay.
You have a little,
I
little
just saw
default thing
that.
that says use banners to summarize your talk. I'm
Oh my
assuming
goodness.
that
Okay,
I'm
thank you
assuming
for
that
letting
wasn't
me.
supposed to be there.
Oh
At
my
first I
gosh.
thought it
Thank you
was
for letting
me.
me know.
I thought
Yeah,
it
good
was
thing
me
it
at
was
first. I was
you.
like, is that
Oh my
me?
gosh. Did I leave it up for that long?
It's still on there
Oh,
for
oh, it
me.
is?
Yeah, it's still on there for
Oh
me.
my goodness. Let's
That's,
remove that. Oh my goodness.
oh,
Okay,
there you
there we
go.
go.
See, I wasn't
See,
sure if that
that's
was supposed to be there or not. I was just,
No.
yeah.
Okay, so lesson learned. And the thing is, I'm trying to look in the camera. So funny, we're live. So looking in the
Uh,
camera, sometimes, when you put your eyes down and you're looking, you have to be really, conscientious and
mm,
alert. So
yeah.
thank you for letting me know.
No, all good.
Yeah,
Hey,
so
we're all in this together.
we are. And I want to remind our audience, we are here with Jeff J. Hunter, and he is an amazing guy doing a lot of great things. He is the founder of VA Staffer, and we're having a great conversation about virtual assistants, also gaming, some of the gaming that he's doing in terms of, on online and how he's closing business online, which is, I mean, it'll blow your mind if you go back and listen to this recording. So Jeff, back to you. So what do you think is kind of on the horizon for you
Hmm.
in the next year or two?
Yeah, wow. Um, I have another book. So my first book,
So your first book, yeah, we didn't talk about the first
yeah.
book. So
So
tell us the name of your
my
book.
first book I started in about October of last year after I lost a lot of money in crypto.
Oh,
I was
oh,
actually
ouch.
making money, and then everybody who's in crypto is pretty much down right now. But no, I thought about all the things that I learned along the way that I wish I had known to make better decisions.
Yeah.
And so I started this book called Zero to Hero Crypto Guide. So that has been going off really well. I love the reviews on Amazon are awesome to read. And
Congratulations on that.
thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people, I mean, they could definitely benefit by reading that book.
And I went
If
all
they're
out,
into
and
crypto.
I had the design team, basically the whole book is in color. And I unfortunately I didn't think about how expensive it would be in color, so like I'm not making money on the book, which I guess I'm not too worried about. I'm
Yeah, a lot of
literally
people really don't, though. I mean, they don't go
yeah,
into it to make money. I mean, there are other ways you can monetize, having a book. We can
yeah.
talk about that later.
I wanted as many
Okay.
people as possible to have access to it, so I just basically whatever the minimum I could do, I think it was like 1097 or something was the lowest that I could mark on Amazon because it was
Yeah.
like 140 full colored pages.
Gosh.
But it was awesome, and it just felt so
Oh,
good, and the response
yeah.
of people have been crazy. And the next book, though, this is probably one that your leaders would enjoy more. It's actually called Virtual Teams That Work: How to Manage
Mhm.
a Remote Team in the Work from Home Economy.
Oh,
So
and when is that book gonna be done?
it's done
Oh,
technically.
it's done.
It's done. I just
Okay.
haven't published it yet. So
How
um,
exciting. So
just
2
going through the design
books.
phase right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've
So
got these 2 different, I mean, from one spectrum to the other, but they're both in your wheelhouse because this is what you do. And, I know, like virtual assistants, when you think of, just what you've created right now, where do you see and just in general, not your particular business, but where do you see companies going with the virtual assistant platform? I mean, do you see more companies jumping on to have a virtual assistant remotely and maybe multiple virtual assistants?
well, because I've been tapped by so many people to help them build remote teams, I
Hmm.
know that there's a huge struggle with people getting results from remote teams. Um, it's definitely taken me, 8 years to really understand how to build remote teams the right way.
Yeah.
I would say, obviously, I think we've learned a lot from the pandemic that we have, you know, an interesting opportunity to build out a pretty dynamic team. And there's
Hmm.
definitely lots of job functions that do not require someone to be in an office.
Exactly, and I think we've all proved that through this whole process. Yeah. I mean,
I,
I'm here, in my home, but I've had my business in my home for a while, and my background is in the corporate industry. So for me, I was always in an office, doing, I mean, business development, all those things. But now I really enjoy being in my home that's all set up for my company. And then I also have the caveat of having my husband upstairs in his office.
that's
So
awesome.
his company has him working remotely.
Wow.
And, so we really had to talk about balancing. Oh,
Mm,
Jeff, we had to really make it work. And it didn't work the first time when, because we had a different arrangement, but now we've learned to work with it and, and it's more productive.
you
So
know,
yeah.
it's interesting that you talk about the struggle because I actually decided to do this in 2019. So
Mm.
in 2019, so I've had an office in the Philippines since December of 2014.
So
And
that's why meaning a physical office.
yeah, in Makati City,
Oh,
which is like the Silicon
wow.
Valley of the Philippines.
My gosh.
And I had about 20 something people working in that office. And
Mhm.
it was January of 2019.
Yeah.
One of my team, actually the office manager, her name's Catherine, who still works for me.
Oh.
She actually was hired in February of, I think February of 2015. So she was one of the
Oh.
very first person I hired in that office.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is that one day she came to me in January of 2019. She told me, they always call you boss. I don't know. It's just
Boss.
culture. They said, boss, I noticed that the people you've been hiring lately have all been working from home. And I was like, yeah, you're right. She goes, well, why are we still here in the office? And I was like, I didn't think about
Oh.
that. And I
Oh,
guess it's just normal for me to, that's like how it was.
yeah.
And I told her, I said,
Mm,
well, if we do a poll and everybody wants to work from home, then we can do that. What I found out though is that about 60% of the people working in that office, which
mhm.
is about 8 out of 20 people, they didn't have the facilities at home to accommodate.
Oh, that's right.
They all
Even just
raised
a
their
simple
hand,
mm,
Shelley. They all raised their hand, said they
really?
want to go home and they want to work from
Oh,
home. And
yeah.
some of them, when they got home, found out they didn't have clear boundaries with their spouse. They didn't have clear boundary with their
Mm,
family, who didn't respect their
yeah.
job because it wasn't in the office. It's a cultural thing.
Mm, yeah.
They didn't have, you know, th- they
Mm,
couldn't control themselves. It's a very
yeah.
different motivation factor from going to an office
It
compared
definitely
to
is.
turning your home into an office.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah. I
different.
mean, no, and that's such a great point. And yeah, I know we're going to have to do part two because I mean, you're
Yeah.
so fascinating to talk with.
Oh my
And
God.
I know I have a question. So we're almost at the end of the broadcast, Jeff, but I want to ask, this is a fun question that I like to ask. And I think
Give it.
you're going to do really well with it because you've got that playfulness. So think of this, and you have your 10-year-old son too. So you probably come up with a really good idea. So if you were a toy, what kind of a toy would you be? And think of Toys R Us. I mean, if you, I know they're
Whew.
not around anymore, but if you were a toy, what would you be and why?
You know, that's a good question. I probably would be I'd probably be a transformer.
A transformer? Oh, a big one
Yeah.
or a small toy one?
I would be the transformer that has the little tube and a little remote control, and then when
Oh,
you talk, it would be like, "Transformer," it would change your voice.
I love
And
it.
then
Oh my
because I
God.
know that every kid would play with me, first off, because I
Yeah,
know that was my favorite
exactly.
toy, one of my favorite toys growing up. And
Yeah.
B, I love the idea of being able to transform ourselves into something different.
Ah, there you go. And that explains why you came up with a great idea. I love it. I love it. Well, Jeff, this has been so much fun. And like I said, we're definitely going to have to do part two. And maybe, in 2023, we'll revisit and we'll have another conversation. I appreciate you being on the show. And, we'll put all of the show notes. We're going to put all your links and everything so people can follow you. What is the best website where people can find you?
If you go to jeffjhunter.com and you click the little about me, it has all my socials, my Facebook. You want to see this crazy chair on my TikTok, on LinkedIn, even has my email. So I
Yeah,
love to be connected. LinkedIn for me, much like you, Shelly, I think it's the
yeah.
most underrated, best social
It
platform ever.
is. Oh my God. And you, my friend, have over 26,000
Do
followers.
I?
So
Oh,
yes, you do. You didn't
I didn't
know
even
that?
know
Oh my
that. No.
gosh. No,
It just keeps
I mean,
going, I try to post consistently. That's
yeah,
the name of the
I
game,
think,
Shelly. That's why we're connected. And I think that
yeah,
goes to show the value of just being present and building a very
I think so
consistent and
too.
intentional brand.
Yeah. And that's so key, and building your brand and engaging with other people. And, like we've connected, and I love the fact that we're connected now because, you've got some great ideas, and I definitely want to get your second book. I'm not maybe I'll get the first book for my son because he's a
You should.
gamer, but then the
Yeah, I
second book, I definitely want to get that.
I I, I actually co-wrote it with someone who has a pseudonym, fake name, a book name.
Yeah.
What do they call those? The pen name. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
Oh,
A pen name. But this person is actually a very amazing marketer who's worked for some of the best in the industry, and
mm,
specifically told that person that I wanted the book to be at about a sixth to eighth grade reading level because I wanted
oh.
everybody to be able to understand what I believe and will become the future of
Mm.
web.
I think so too. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing though. And congratulations on all your success. We want you to, just continue to do the great work that you're doing. And we will definitely put all the links in this broadcast in the show notes. And we want to thank our audience for being here and just, continuing to watch us and be a part of the show. every show that we have, I'm just amazed by the guests. And Jeff is no different. He's an amazing guy. And I think you all should connect with him on LinkedIn and TikTok and all of his other social profiles. So thanks again. And we will catch you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.